Yo, what's good YouTube? It's your host Sage right here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're bringing y'all a new What If, this being the What If movie to What If Naruto had Azanot's abilities. Thank you to the person who commented down this video idea. Yes buddy, I saw your comment, so here's the What If. Hopefully you enjoy. And if you guys have your own What If ideas, then please comment down below as well. I'll eventually see them and eventually check on whether or not I want to make them. But besides that guys, it's your host Sage right here. This intro has gone on long enough, and I do appreciate you guys for waiting patiently for me throughout the entire time I've been gone. But with that being said, it's your host Seiji right here, and it's time for us to begin the What If. So with that being said, let's get started.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do?
To begin the What If, we're now gonna date back all the way to Naruto's origins. So during the time when Naruto got the nine-tailed seal inside of him, and after Minato and Kushina sacrificed their lives, this is when we then see Hiruzen, now deciding to fulfill their wishes, go approach Naruto. But you see, this is where things would then delude from the canon, as this would actually trigger an event that would actually just kind of trigger everything throughout the rest of the story. As we see Hiruzen approaching the young Naruto, who now had recently got the nine-tailed seal inside of him, this is when we then see Naruto awaken it for the first time, a powerful ability that will literally shake the very core of the Shinobi world. As Hiruzen was approaching the young Naruto, this is when he then feels it, as an enormous amount of fear that seems to grip onto his very soul, that by the time that Hiruzen was finally able to snap out of it, he sees that he was only mere seconds away from obliterating the young child with a fireball jutsus. And I mean literally a few seconds away from doing it. Like literally he was in the midst of finishing the fireball jutsu and just completely putting the kids ablaze. And this will catch all the Shinobis off guard as they end up staring at Hiruzen, and seeing the third Hokage being feared, showing fear to this young child, immediately made them think that the nine tails had truly taken root inside the child. Now Hiruzen begins to contemplate on whether or not if maybe he should actually go through with the act, as after all, he feels a enormous amount of fear just looking at the child, and he really begins to think that the nine tails may have fully possessed him. But luckily for Naruto, he decides not to, as he decides to actually try to fulfill the promise he made to Minato. So even though it does take quite a lot of willpower, eventually Hiruzen's able to grab a hold of Naruto and immediately begins to go about raising him, as this will be Naruto growing up. Now, we now flash forward a little bit throughout the timeline as we see Naruto growing up in the Hidden Leaf Village, and things definitely are not going good for the child. In fact, it's way worse. Naruto is way more feared than it was in the main timeline, as anyone that would even look at Naruto or even be near his presence would feel the fear of death itself just looming over them. It felt as if the very cold dead hand of death would be grabbing onto their neck, and at any moment he could just simply decide to just kill them on the spot. This caused many villagers to run away in fear or just to simply avoid Naruto like the plague. And Naruto would have to be there watching all this, as he was unable to do anything. No matter how many times he tried to make himself seem harmless or approachable, it didn't work. People feared him, and that was just a simple fact. Even Hiruzen, the third Hokage, who Naruto had thought that he was the only person to not fear him at all, after all he was the strongest, he himself also feared Naruto. As literally Hiruzen, during the times of raising Naruto, had to literally catch himself, as there would be times where Naruto's ability of fear would literally catch him off guard. As there would have been times where Hiruzen had to catch himself from literally obliterating the child and seeing him as a threat. And Naruto had to grow up seeing all of this. And as you can obviously tell, this was not good for the mental health. As we continue on with Naruto growing up and continuing to mature, we actually see Naruto go through a few changes as well as gaining a few hobbies. Number one being the fact that Naruto really likes the library. Thanks to the fact that Naruto is completely by himself, and not only that, but Hiruzen, even in this timeline, he avoids Naruto like way more than he does in the main timeline. I mean, after all, Hiruzen has to literally catch himself, and he sees himself as a danger to the child, as there have been moments where Hiruzen would literally be close to obliterating him. So thanks to that, Hiruzen, for the safety of Naruto, had to keep him at a distance. So this left Naruto extra alone than he was in the main timeline. But Naruto, he got used to it. The loneliness, him being by himself all the time, he got used to it and actually found some upsides to it. Thanks to being alone, Naruto is able to read up on as much books as he wants, as he just simply sits in a library and just reads. As literally the librarian and anyone else that has a problem with him are way too afraid to do anything, as they literally just willingly allow him to do whatever he wants. And Naruto, he was okay with that. Don't get me wrong, the loneliness and being avoided by everyone sucked, but of course you have to find some upsides to it, as Naruto would take a very good interest in books, specifically novels or things with good adventure stories pretty much. And that was not the only thing. Another thing that Naruto realized was the fact that he can actually weaponize this ability to give fear to people. And although Naruto does not have complete control over it, he has been able to use it, or at least be able to manipulate it in some way. As whenever Naruto would ever go out to go get food, as most of the time he goes out into the woods to hunt, because of the fact that the villagers will not sell anything to him, and whenever Naruto would appear, they immediately close down their shop, so Naruto doesn't get the opportunity to buy anything. Naruto would have to go into the woods to get his food. But this actually turned out to be a benefit to Naruto, as this would allow him to train his body, and not only that, but also get him some actual battle experience, even if it was only with animals. As Naruto would go through his own adventures, going into the forest and hunting down animals, we would actually see Naruto beginning to learn how to use this ability, the ability to summon out fear. As you see, during the time when Naruto was struggling against a very powerful animal, as it was a bear and it was obviously way stronger than Naruto, after all Naruto was still a child, Naruto began to actually feel a generous amount of negative emotions, like it was building up. And as Naruto was feeling these emotions and as the bear was approaching, Naruto begins to actually release it. As this will actually cause the bear to stop and actually begin to shake away from Naruto, as it begins to crouch down and actually bow its head down to Naruto, but Naruto was not done, as he feels even more anger as he looks at the damage the bear had done to him. As the bear will begin to feel fear, so much fear to the point where it begins to actually lose its mind, as it begins to thrash around, before Naruto finally had enough, as he begins to feel all his emotions build up, before he finally releases an angry cry at feeling so weak, and not only that, but also being angry at the bear for injuring him, as this will actually cause the bear to stop moving. Now Naruto looks at it confused, as he's wondering why it stopped, only to see the bear then finally collapse down to the ground. As Naruto, thanks to putting so much fear into the bear, and after generating so much of it, Naruto had given the bear a heart attack, killing it off instantly. And Naruto would see this at a young age, and he'll be shocked, and not only that, but he'll also be traumatized as he realized just how dangerous this curse was to him. As thanks to that brief instance, Naruto will go about hunting, and he will be trying his best to learn how to control this ability. Not only this, but this will allow Naruto to train his body and actually getting him way more prepared to how it's going to be like in the future. And you see, the thing is, while Naruto was doing all this, Hiruzen will be watching everything with a sad expression. Then you see, Hiruzen, although he wasn't close to Naruto, as after all, he had to catch himself from actually injuring the child whenever he was near, Hiruzen still at least tried to be or give Naruto something in life. He tried his best to give Naruto a normal life, so that way he can enjoy himself as a child, but unfortunately, Fate had other plans. But still though, seeing this nonetheless, Hiruzen can tell that Naruto has potential. The thing is that potential has to be tapped in immediately, as if things were to go on any further, and God forbid if Naruto were to go throughout the academy without this ability being under control, Naruto may very well kill someone by accident. So with a heavy heart, Hiruzen has decided that he was going to set up Naruto for Shinobi training much earlier. As Naruto, during the fateful day, would then be approached by the Anbus, and then briefed about it briefly with Hiruzen, this will be Naruto's entry into Shinobi world. As we now do a time skip, we see Naruto now fully grown up and everything, as he had finally gotten the necessary training and experience that he needed, as he finally had gotten full control over the ability of the fear. Naruto was able to make use of this ability in special ways, allowing him to take down enemies and heck even just kill them off immediately just by looking at his presence. As you see, the more times that Naruto was exposed to Shinobi world and the more times that Naruto grew up, the stronger this ability became, as Naruto now fully understood what makes people feel fear. And Naruto was even able to make illustrations of this, as he actually developed a skill that no one had even expected of him, especially someone who was a Jinchuriki. After all, it was unheard of, but yet somehow, someway, Naruto was able to do it. As Naruto was able to actually create Genjutsu. Yes, even though Naruto has the 9 tails chakra, and his chakra reserves were ginormous to the point where having control over it seemed impossible, Naruto somehow, someway, was able to actually craft Genjutsus. And Naruto's Genjutsus were lethal. Unlike the regular Genjutsus that were meant to incapacitate enemies and allow people to just knock them out or go for the kill, Naruto's Genjutsus were truly horrific. As Naruto's Genjutsus just seemed to be reality warping practically. As Naruto's Genjutsus, every single one of them were lethal, and they could do something to you that no other Genjutsu could do. As legit, many people who even experienced Naruto's Genjutsu died immediately after experiencing it, as Naruto combined Genjutsu with his ability of the fear, as this would allow Naruto to literally kill off enemies just by simply activating a Genjutsu. And this would actually cause Naruto to gain his moniker. After going on so many missions and Naruto finally being at the rank of Chuunin by the time this time skip is over with, Naruto would gain a name that will be known throughout many of the elemental nations, as Naruto will be known as the terror hidden in the leaves. As Naruto, after getting that title, he would immediately be known throughout the elemental nations, with him being some sort of a boogeyman for many people. As you see, Naruto was only a Chuunin level shinobi, but when he used the power of the fear, he was easily jonin. Maybe low jonin, and heck, maybe mid jonin, but definitely a jonin level threat. As with the power of the fear, Naruto seemed almost invincible, as thanks to that power, Naruto was literally able to outclass many high tier shinobis, and whenever he encountered a shinobi that he could not take on, Naruto was always able to find a way to get out of it. With Naruto also being well known for his assassination techniques, as Naruto was someone who would immediately put a genjutsu on you, and if that didn't finish you off, he would immediately be able to actually hit the most vulnerable areas to end you off immediately, taking your life in an instant. As the only thing that Naruto wasn't really 100% good at was unfortunately his, taijutsu. As although Naruto's strength was certainly above average, unfortunately Naruto did not have the best technique when it comes to it, as Naruto was only average when it came to taijutsu, with his ninjutsu being above average. But regardless of that flaw, Naruto still had the skills and capabilities to become a jonin level shinobi. The only real thing that Naruto was missing was the simple fact that he needed way more experience. Not only that, but Naruto, he still has not proven himself to be a capable leader yet. As after all, most of the time when Naruto was working as a shinobi, he unfortunately had to work by himself. Sure, he sometimes were to partner up with higher level, more experienced shinobi, but other than that, Naruto would mostly stick to himself. As we now turn to the very present timeline, we see Naruto, after finally finishing another mission, will be currently talking to Hiruzen. As you see, by this point, Naruto was fully dedicating himself into trying to become a jonin. As by this point, Naruto already can tell he has the power and skill needed for it. All he needs to do is just pass that one exam, the upcoming Chuunin exams. But you see, Hiruzen, after hearing this and after hearing Naruto's plea to actually participate in the Chuunin exams, he actually surprises Naruto by stating that he can't join unless he has a team. And you see, this will actually be part of Hiruzen's plan. You see, after Naruto had finally gained control over the fear, Hiruzen was finally able to approach the boy and actually have some conversation with him. The only thing was, Naruto barely even stuck around for the conversation. In fact, most of the time, Naruto just treated Hiruzen as just another business employee, and that's it, his boss. And Hiruzen, well, although he understood why exactly Naruto went about it, he was still very upset, as he thought that now that Naruto had finally control over the ability of the fear, Naruto was finally going to be able to make ways for communication with other people, make connections. But that didn't work out. In fact, Naruto just simply isolated himself, minded his own business, go about reading his own novels, and barely communicated with anyone. And seeing this really broke Hiruzen's heart, as he tried multiple different attempts in trying to get Naruto to have some type of connection to the Hidden Leaf Village, or have a connection with anyone. But no matter what he tried, Naruto just simply preferred to be by himself. But now, Hiruzen finally had another way to get Naruto to communicate with people, to get some type of connection, and that being that Naruto should be on a team. While yes, Naruto is definitely way stronger than any current shinobi in his generation right now, this will be a perfect opportunity for Naruto to at least build up some type of connection. Whether that be Naruto being a mentor for them, or Naruto, being some type of older brother figure for them, it didn't matter, as long as Naruto was able to have some type of connection that tied him down to the Hidden Leaf Village. So with that being said, Hiruzen actually ends up giving Naruto a branch, as he pretty much starts saying to Naruto that if he actually wants to participate in the Chuunin exam this year, then Naruto would have to unfortunately join a team. And Naruto, after hearing this, was annoyed, as he would just end up releasing like a little pissed off little snort, which ends up catching Hiruzen's attention, as he begins to call out Naruto in a very comedic way, saying that's very disrespectful, when Naruto obviously lying by saying that he has no idea what Hiruzen is talking about. As after this, we can now do a change of scene as well as a time skip. We now turn our attention to Kakashi, the newly formed leader of Team 7, as he'll be currently sitting down watching his new team, this consisting of Sasuke and Sakura, with the other member currently about to join them real soon. Now you see, Kakashi was actually given a very important task by the Hokage, that being the fact that number 1, he's supposed to help out Sasuke, as Sasuke was after all the only member of the Uchiha clan, so he needed desperately for Sasuke to have some type of connection to the Hidden Leaf Village. As after all, now that Itachi had pretty much killed everyone that was even close to Sasuke, this left Sasuke with barely any connection to the Hidden Leaf Village at all. But that was not the only mission that Kakashi had. He also had the mission of doing the same thing, but for Naruto. And after finding out that Naruto was joining his team, Kakashi felt as if he was just kicked in the stomach, as Kakashi was once again reminded about his failures. The failure to be an older brother figure for Naruto and to look out for him. As Kakashi was not one of the people that was training Naruto, no. Those were other experienced jonin or chuunin, and ones that just simply did the task to get more money from the Hokage. And although Kakashi wanted to do it, unfortunately during this point, he was actually still working in the Anbu, so he didn't give any training to Naruto. But now he finally had the opportunity to make up for his past mistake, and not only that, but to give Naruto some actual connections. So with that, and being determined, Kakashi will be there waiting for Naruto to arrive, all while Sasuke and Sakura will be there wondering why exactly it's taking their other teammates so long. But just as they were debating this is when suddenly a ginormous amount of fear would then grip onto every last one of them, as they felt as if they couldn't even breathe, as if the hand of death itself was grabbing onto their necks. Kakashi himself would also feel it, as he immediately breaks out of it as he prepares to actually activate the Sharingan, trying to see if there was an attack approaching. But right before Kakashi can do anything, this is when suddenly a black swirl of leaves would then appear, as when the swirl finally ends up dissipating, we would then see the appearance of Naruto. As Naruto would appear there with his Chuunin attire. With the real noticeable thing that Naruto's Chuunin attire has that was different from everyone else's was the fact that Naruto's attire, instead of being dark green, was actually just fully black, as Naruto would then take in the appearance of every last one of his teammates. In analyzing every last one of them, Naruto makes sure to remember every last one of them, and especially how they react to his ability. As after getting all the information required, Naruto would then release his power, as he then walks over to the railing and leans on it. Now seeing this, Kakashi then begins to cough as he decides to break the tension, as he begins to actually tell Naruto that he was late, with Naruto stating that he just found out about this just now. Now Sasuke and Sakura will have different reactions to Naruto. Sakura being completely creeped out by him, as she literally felt that very generous wave of fear that seemed to grip onto her, as she felt herself literally shivering at the sight of being near Naruto. Although Sasuke was very conflicted, cause on one hand, just based on Naruto's entrance and not only that but also his appearance, Sasuke can tell that Naruto was strong, and not only that but he was someone who definitely had way more power than an average shinobi. That also just seemed to piss off Sasuke. As you see, the thing is, Naruto was around Sasuke's age, and this pissed off Sasuke to know that someone was stronger than him, especially since he literally worked his butt off in the academy to be known as the Rookie of the Year. As Sasuke will be glaring at Naruto, this is when Kakashi would then finally give Naruto's introduction, pretty much explaining to the rest of them who Naruto was. As after all, Naruto was not gonna do any type of communication with them unless required. So after getting the introductions out the way and after getting to know every last one of them, eventually Kakashi begins to announce about the belt test. And you see, after hearing about the belt test, Naruto could already tell exactly what's gonna go on here, as Kakashi would then give them a whole day to prepare. As after that, Kakashi would then end up using the body flicker to get out of there. And after seeing Kakashi gone, Sasuke ends up turning to Naruto, and just when he was about to speak up, this is when he would then see Naruto kind of completely vanished. As this would end up catching Sasuke off guard and also pissing him off even further. All while Sakura was way creeped out, and not only that but also very surprised by the fact that Naruto had just seemingly disappeared. As with that being said, this is where we now time skip to the very next day of the belt test. As we turn to see Team 7 arrive, this is where we then see Kakashi would also arrive as well. As after once again explaining about exactly what's going to happen during the belt test, this is when he then tells them to begin. Now every last one of them would then hide away, as Kakashi would end up taking note of where they went, except this is when he then realizes that he can't tell where Naruto went. And this made Kakashi then realize that he's going to have to take this seriously. Now you see, the thing is, Kakashi wasn't dumb. He already read up on Naruto's file, he already knows about what Naruto could do, what he's capable of. After all, Naruto's in the bingo book. So thanks to this, Kakashi already knew that in order to fight Naruto, he's gonna have to bring out the Sharingan. But for now, he decided to take care of the two weakest links, this being Sasuke and Sakura. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that's gonna go down the exact same way, with Sasuke getting his head into the dirt, all while Sakura just gets knocked out by a simple weak genjutsu. As now with those two being taken care of, the only one that was left will be Naruto. But you see, as Kakashi was about to head out to the open area, this is when he then feels himself begin to wander. Then you see Kakashi would be caught off guard as he begins to walk through the forest and seemingly get lost in it, which will be confusing to the copy ninja, as after all he has a very good photographic memory. He should know exactly where the exit out of this forest should be. As Kakashi begins to wander deeper into the forest, this is when he then begins to feel himself begin to get sleepier and sleepier. And seeing this, Kakashi immediately begins to think that it's a genjutsu, as he immediately deactivates it. He begins to laugh, telling Naruto that was a good attempt, but unfortunately he's going to take more than that to beat him. But you see, as Kakashi was laughing and chuckling about this is when he then stops, as he didn't realize that, number one, he was still lost. Number two, this time he couldn't sense anything. Immediately, Kakashi begins to flare up as much chakra as possible, trying to break out of this genjutsu, but unfortunately it wasn't working, as Kakashi begins to feel a very unsettling feeling creep up on him. Kakashi now begins to blitz around the entire forest, trying to see if maybe he can escape the genjutsu, and no matter how many times Kakashi has tried, unfortunately he was not breaking out of it. It got so bad to a point where Kakashi then decides to use the Sharingan, as with this he should definitely be able to break out of it. And it seemed to have worked, as building up a lot of chakra to the Sharingan, Kakashi is actually able to break out of the genjutsu, being able to see right through it, as finally he ends up arriving directly into the open area of the training field. As Kakashi begins to tell Naruto that was extremely good, and gives him pretty much a good point on how good his genjutsus are, this is when Kakashi wouldn't realize that number one, by this point it was already the afternoon. Number two was the fact that the training field was extremely quiet. There was no sound of Sasuke screaming of him letting him out of there, and not only that, but there was no sound of Sakura either. Kakashi begins to get a very unsettling feeling, as this when suddenly all around a very dark mist begins to set in. Kakashi sees this and he couldn't believe it. Now immediately he begins to think that it's another genjutsu, but unfortunately it's not, as this once again ends up catching Kakashi off guard. He already realized that Naruto has some skills when it comes to ninjutsu, but he wasn't expecting this. As Kakashi begins to tense up, preparing for any moment to fight, this is when, unfortunately for Kakashi, it was too late, as he was already ensnared into Naruto's trap. As Kakashi will be there waiting, this is when suddenly he begins to hear singing, as a very creepy lullaby will be heard throughout the entire forest. It felt as if Kakashi was in a horror movie. As Kakashi will begin to look around, wondering where exactly this lullaby is coming from, and also wondering what it was approaching, as Kakashi would keep feeling this unsettling feeling creep up on him, this is when suddenly Kakashi would then hear it, a very distorted voice calling out to him. This caused Kakashi to turn around, as this is when he then sees it. Hiding away behind one of the trees, he will see a very distorted and horrific sighting of his best friend, Obito Uchiha. And seeing this causes Kakashi's heart to stop for a moment, as he sees the sight of his dead friend, with his body being completely mutated and disfigured, as he looked like a true demon, or as if a mad scientist had decided to experiment on him for his sick pleasure. Now Kakashi knew that there was no way that was Obito, as he kept trying to break out of this genjutsu, but as he continues trying to, he felt it, the feeling of desperation, the feeling of death itself looming over him. As once again, Kakashi would then hear the lullaby continue getting louder and louder as Obito begins to call out to Kakashi. Now, finally, Kakashi had enough of this, as he decides to blitz into hand signs, as he decides to just simply try to attack, trying to see if he could hit Naruto. But just as Kakashi was about to release a fireball jutsu, this is when suddenly he wouldn't hear the lullaby go quiet. And not only that, but he lost sight of Obito. He begins looking around sporadically, trying to see if he can find him, but unfortunately, it was too late. As just as Kakashi was wondering where he was, this is when suddenly he would then feel a hand grip onto his leg. And seeing this, Kakashi would then look down, and as he does, he would then see them. The very distorted and mutated faces of not only the ones that he cares about, but not only that, but millions of other people, as he was literally standing on the very ground of multiple dead bodies, as every single one of them will have a very mutated and very horrifying appearance. As this is when suddenly Obito would then ask Kakashi why didn't he save him. And this would immediately break Kakashi's heart. As this is when we now turn to how things are in reality. We see Naruto as he was currently sitting there looking at Kakashi as he was undergoing pretty much the most horrific genjutsu that Naruto could pretty much undergo for a man of his caliber. As this was a genjutsu meant to pretty much use everything that Kakashi had seen, pretty much the most horrifying things that Kakashi had ever gone through, and using it against him. And it's a very powerful genjutsu, not one to take lightly, but then again, all of Naruto's genjutsus are not to be taken lightly. As this genjutsu is not meant to fully kill unless you're fully weak of heart or anything like that, but because of the fact that Naruto knew that Kakashi was strong-willed, the only thing that this was going to do was paralyze him. But it was enough for Naruto to simply just take away the belts from Kakashi. As now that Naruto had finally gotten the belts, he would then walk into the trees and just simply disappear, and right as he does, he then suddenly breaks the genjutsu for Kakashi. Kakashi will be out of that genjutsu as he'll be on the ground panting with tears literally falling from his eyes. He couldn't believe about the twisted horrors that he had just witnessed, and he couldn't believe just how dark the mind of Naruto Uzumaki truly was. As he then looks around to see that number one, it was still morning, and not only that, but the bell test was still going on. He then looks at the bell at his waist to see that, yes, just as he expected, it was gone. Just as Kakashi was about to get up to go after Naruto, this is when suddenly the bell would ring, signifying the end of the bell test. As we now move forward with the story, we then see Kakashi pretty much scolding both Sasuke and Sakura for not helping out each other, as well as the fact he also scolds Naruto. But when he does so, Kakashi honestly feels himself kinda hesitate to do so. As you see, after that very horrific genjutsu that he had undergone, and because of the fact of how desperate Kakashi was to break out of there, Kakashi honestly was on his toes when it came to Naruto. Because at any moment, if Naruto wanted to put him under a genjutsu, he could, and Kakashi would have no real way of breaking out of it. I mean, literally, Kakashi was literally so desperate enough to the point where he was literally about to break off his own finger just to get out of there. So as Kakashi would look at Naruto with a sense of hesitation, but still scold him nonetheless, this is when he then begins to ask Naruto what he's going to do with the bells. To which Naruto just simply gives in to both Sasuke and Sakura, as after all, Naruto was already a shinobi. They weren't. And seeing this, Kakashi thought that was good enough, so he decides to pass Team 7, as now with the Team 7 now formed, they can now finally undergo multiple different missions. As we now do a time skip. Moving forward through multiple months now, Team 7 had undergone multiple different missions, and this time, not just simply D-rank missions. With the added addition of Naruto being a Chuunin in this timeline, Team 7 had actually gone on more than one type of mission. That means they actually had also gone on C-rank missions and heck even B-rank missions, allowing for Sasuke and Sakura to get the very much needed experience that they didn't have in the main timeline. Not only that, but thanks to them experiencing this missions much sooner, this actually caused Sakura to have the change of her actually realizing that her life is truly endangered when she continues on with her shinobi career. So due to that, she actually does have to train herself, learning about different types of things, and not only that, but also taking an interest in genjutsu. With this interest in genjutsu being so strong enough to the point where she actually overcomes her fear for Naruto and actually asks him to give her some training. Now this would catch Kakashi off guard and also Naruto, but regardless, Naruto would actually help out Sakura. And this will actually come to actually help Sakura be comfortable around Naruto and actually see him as a friend. As you see, finally after getting to know Naruto, Sakura does realize that Naruto is scary. Like if you're his enemy, then definitely he's scary. But other than that, if you're his friend or if you're just someone that Naruto knows, then Naruto isn't really scary at all. Really, he's just a guy who might be socially awkward, but usually is just chill most of the time. And not only that, but this will also cause a change in Sasuke as well, as after going on so many different missions, it actually caused him to get the much needed battle experience to actually awaken his Sharingan much earlier. And not only that, but thanks to the fact that he actually also trains with Kakashi, and not only that, but also gets to have time where he gets to fight against Naruto, this actually pushes Sasuke to unlock the second Tomoe of his Sharingan. As this is where we now also turn to Naruto, as by this point Naruto is actually filling the proper role of being Team 7's pretty much big brother, as besides Kakashi, Naruto was the other member with the most experience on the team. And this will actually fit Naruto quite well, as Naruto, because of the fact that he doesn't act like irrationally and isn't childish enough to the point where he competes with Sasuke, Naruto is the one to pretty much keep the group at peace. Whenever there will be times where Kakashi has no idea how to teach the rest of the team, Naruto will be the one to kind of give him hints here and there to actually guide them. All the while, whenever Sasuke or Sakura are lacking knowledge and things that they need, Naruto will be the one to point them out and actually give them the proper way of how to do it. I mean, it got so bad to the point where half the times Naruto will be considered actually the leader of Team 7, which this will actually cause a very comedic effect to happen, with Kakashi sometimes literally just crying in a corner, but of course all this being comedically of course. But still nonetheless, Team 7 had made a enormous amount of progress with Naruto filling into this role. As thanks to this, Naruto actually helped Sakura break out of her fangirl phase, and not only that, but also help her in actually getting prepared and taking the shinobi life way more seriously than she does in the canon timeline. Not only that, but Naruto is also able to handle Sasuke's inferiority complex, as whenever Naruto beats down on Sasuke whenever they're sparring, and whenever Sasuke begins to think that Naruto's looking down on him, instead of taunting Sasuke or making fun of him, Naruto gives Sasuke some pretty good advice, and not only that, but also gives Sasuke things to work on so that way he can get stronger. And not only that, but there will also be moments where Naruto would actually give Sasuke some jutsus that Naruto would believe would actually help out Sasuke, causing Sasuke to actually appreciate Naruto and come to respect him. Although he does sometimes still see Naruto as a rival, or at least someone to measure up to. As this is where we now turn to the present. As we now see Team 7 finally turning in their latest mission and actually about to head off, this is when Hiruzen actually decides to give them another mission, this being the mission to the Land of the Waves. Now, seeing this mission, Kakashi begins to wonder if they should take it, but after looking at the team and seeing that they were still pretty much completely fine and almost at 100% after the last mission, he decides to take it nonetheless. Now, this will bring in Tazuna, the bridge builder, and unlike in the main timeline where Tazuna begins to complain about Naruto and everything like that, he doesn't at all, as he has no complaints at all for this team. As like I said, in this timeline, they're taking the Shinobi life way more serious than he did in the main timeline. So this actually allows Tazuna to see that they're being actually true Shinobi and having no complaints at all. In fact, he feels very satisfied with this team. And soon after getting a briefing about the mission, this is where we then see Team 7 pack up all the gear that they needed before finally heading off to the front gate and heading off to take care of any trouble that may happen in the Land of the Waves. Now, as Team 7 were actually going through the journey of the Land of the Waves, they do encounter some trouble, this being the Chuunin brothers that end up jumping out of the pond, but thanks to the power of both Sasuke and this time Sakura, they're actually able to take care of it quite easily, as both of them begin to show off their experience they gained from actually doing so many missions. As now with the both of them succeeding in taking down the demon brothers, Kakashi would go about interrogating him, all the while Tazuna would just be there, feeling very happy about the fact that he got this team specifically to accompany him and to protect him. As finally, after negotiating and pretty much interrogating the demon brothers, finally Kakashi is able to find out that this isn't exactly a C rank mission. And finally feeling himself being backed up into a corner, this is when finally Tazuna decides to reveal everything, pretty much explaining the problem that was going on in the Land of the Waves. Now, although this wasn't exactly within their paycheck and not only that, but this wasn't their job to take care of it, still nonetheless, Team 7 decides to finish off this mission, as every last one of them fully agree that they couldn't leave the Land of the Waves like this. So with that, Team 7 decides to continue on with the mission. As we now continue on with the story, as we see Team 7 nearing closer and closer to the Land of the Waves, this is when suddenly they'll then have to stop, as every last one of them then duck out of the way of a butcher blade, as we will then see the butcher blade then slam into the tree with someone landing on top of it, this being none other than Zabuza Momochi. And seeing Zabuza, immediately every last one of them tense up, as Zabuza begins to take note of Kakashi, the copy ninja, with Kakashi hearing his moniker immediately already understanding who Zabuza was. With events changing from the canon once again, as not only did Zabuza notice Kakashi in this timeline, but he also notices Naruto, as he begins to call out Naruto from his moniker, this being the terror hidden in the leaves. As this will catch the attention of both Sasuke and Sakura, as after all, they never heard this moniker before, as half the time whenever they went out on missions on the field, whenever they were finally done facing off against their own enemies, and finally when they're finally able to regroup, they actually see that Naruto had already taken care of his own enemies quite easily, as whenever they try finding Naruto, they already see by the time they arrive that Naruto had finally taken care of everything on his side. So yeah, this will be the very first time they ever hear of Naruto's moniker. As we now turn back to Zabuza, who currently right now will be chuckling in delight about the fact that he gets to face off against both Kakashi and Naruto, this is when Kakashi would then suddenly charge at Zabuza as he decides to face off against him. As we then see the similar battle between Kakashi and Zabuza being played out. But you see, as Kakashi was fighting off against Zabuza though, this is when suddenly Naruto ended up catching the presence of someone hiding, as he would actually sense Haku's presence. And seeing him there and already knowing that something was off, Naruto decides to investigate, leaving Sasuke in charge and also telling both of them to work together just in case Kakashi needs it, as he ends up dashing off over there all the while Sasuke and Sakura were calling out to him. As now with that being said, we can now change scenes. We now turn our attention to Haku, who currently right now was hiding within the trees, watching the fight between Zabuza and Kakashi go down, as he was waiting at any moment to step in order to prevent Zabuza's death. But as Haku was watching the fight though, this was suddenly he would then feel a kunai at his neck, as well as a very deep voice of Naruto Uzumaki telling him not to move. Now seeing this, Haku will be impressed, beginning to comment on Naruto's skill on being able to sneak up on him, since very few have been able to do that. But yet Naruto is not in the mood to playing games, as he presses the knife even closer into Haku's neck, beginning to question him about why exactly he was here. And Haku, after hearing that, will try to pull out the same lie that he does in the main timeline, when he first encounters Team 7, but unfortunately Naruto knew better, as after all he already read up on multiple books, and not only that, but he actually was intelligent, so he immediately begins to call out Haku on that bull. And after realizing that lying was not going to work, this is when suddenly Haku then tried to stab into Naruto using his needles, but unfortunately Naruto was able to dodge out of the attack. As with that, both of them end up breaking away from each other, as this is where we then see the fight between Haku and the terror hidden in the leaves. Now immediately Haku begins to rush at Naruto, showing off his overwhelming speed, but Naruto already shows off why exactly he was a Chuunin, but a Chuunin that could face off against jonin level Shinobi, as he was easily able to catch up to Haku, and not only that but also outspeed him, and he's able to actually kick Haku in the face, and not only that but slam him extremely hard against a tree, with the tree nearly toppling over because of that blow. And Haku, after getting up from the hit, was very thrown off guard by this, but he was even more thrown off guard by the fact that he doesn't sense Naruto's presence at all. In fact, he doesn't even see him. As he begins to look around, Haku begins to feel a very unsettling feeling, as this is when he then finally ends up realizing that he was caught in a genjutsu. As just before he can finally end up breaking out of it, this is when suddenly he ends up getting kicked out of it actually by none other than Naruto, as Naruto ends up once again kicking Haku in the face, sending Haku flying. As just as Haku was sent flying, he will soon be able to recover after flipping a few times, as this is when we then see him actually engage in taijutsu battle against Naruto. And although taijutsu isn't Naruto's strong suit, him combining it with genjutsu actually makes it very difficult for Haku, as Haku takes a generous amount of damage. It goes back to the point where Haku decides to bust out the crystal ice mirrors, as this gave Haku a generous boost of speed, and allowing him to actually do some pretty good damage on Naruto. But you see, unfortunately for Haku, this wouldn't last long, as just as Haku would get another burst of speed, as he then rushes at Naruto once again, trying to finish him off. This is when Naruto would then catch Haku in a genjutsu, with Naruto activating the power of the fear. Immediately activating this, Naruto would have sealed Haku's fate, as Haku will be thrown into this very dark void now, as he literally feels his body be completely paralyzed, as he feels himself being literally held by death's hand itself. Haku tries to break out of it. He tries to do something, but unfortunately his entire body was numb, as he didn't have no idea what exactly he was even doing. As Haku would be there though, currently right now in this dark void with death's hand on his throat, this is when suddenly Haku would then suddenly see the final images of Zabuza, as he would see everything that Zabuza had done for him. As Haku seeing Zabuza and seeing all these memories playing of them, he would immediately understood what was about to happen. As with tears falling from his eyes, he ends up thanking Zabuza for everything, and also apologizing to him for being such a useless tool. As with a one last tear shedding from Haku's face, this is when we would then see the end of Haku. As Naruto, using a powerful assassination technique, he actually ends up killing off Haku completely, as he just decapitates Haku, causing his head to be sent flying, all while Naruto will be there completely clean and finished with the job. As now with Haku being killed off much sooner, this actually ends up causing Zabuza to die during the battle against Kakashi, as instead of Naruto and Sasuke helping him out in this timeline, it will be Sasuke and Sakura, as Sakura in this instance isn't useless, as she's actually able to help out Sasuke, as she actually ends up releasing a couple of genjutsus on Zabuza. Not extremely powerful ones, but enough to catch Zabuza off guard, and Sasuke was able to release some powerful fireball jutsus, causing Zabuza some extra damage, and also causing him to be unable to trap Kakashi in the water prism jutsu, enabling Kakashi to finish him off with a lightning blade, and actually bringing pretty much a good end to the Land of the Waves. As now that they've finally taken care of both Haku and Zabuza, Team 7 are able to continue on with their mission, deliver Zazuna back to his home, and after that they're soon able to have a battle against Gato and the rest of his men, which Gato unfortunately ends up losing very badly, as no matter how much men that he has, at the end of the day he stands no chance when it comes to facing off against actual Shinobi. As now with that being said, this will be the end to the Land of the Waves, as with Gato now being killed off, his influence over the Land of the Waves had finally come to an end, allowing the people to be free. As with this, Team 7 are now able to finally return back to the Hidden Leaf Village after completing the mission. As now with that being said, we can now do a time skip. Moving forward with the story, we now see Team 7, after accomplishing a few more missions, actually being notified about the Chuunin exams. And after letting them know exactly when it's going to happen, Kakashi would actually give them a few moments to prepare themselves and train themselves for the upcoming exams, to which they would do so, as every last one of them would work together and actually train with each other in order to become strong enough for the exams. As Sasuke and Sakura were pushing themselves in order to try to pass the Chuunin exam, Naruto was working the hardest out of all of them, as he really desperately wanted to show that he was jonin material immediately. But not only that, but also during this time, Naruto also wanted to help out his teammates as well, as although Naruto, preferred to be by himself, he has a small little soft spot when it comes to Team 7, as after all, after helping them and after, sticking to them for quite a while now, Naruto has built up some type of connection with them at least. So yeah, he's training mostly for himself, but if he could help them along the way, he will definitely. So now with that being said, we now turn to the following day of the Chuunin exams, as we see Team 7 then entering in there, and I'm not going to even explain the entire thing. I'm just going to say that they passed the first portion with ease, alright? That was easy for them. As we're now turning to the most important part of the Chuunin exams, this being the Forest of Death. Now you see, when Team 7 finally finished the first portion and finally get their scrolls for the second portion, they're immediately sent to the Forest of Death, as when they're going to the Forest of Death, they encountered a sucker team that was there to try to sneak up on them and try to get their scroll, to which they failed horribly, as every last member of Team 7 were able to take care of them with ease, and not only that, but also get their scroll, which, surprise surprise, is the scroll that they needed to pass the exam. So now that they finally gotten the scroll, it was finally time for them to get to the tower, so that way they can finally pass the exam with ease. But just as they were about to leave the forest though, this is when Naruto would then suddenly catch himself, as this is when suddenly he ends up sensing an attack approaching, a very devastating one at that, as he ends up grabbing both Sasuke and Sakura and moving them out of the way of the attack along with himself. As every last one of them will have to stand there and witness as the attack will rip apart the entire area that they were just walking in. As they end up looking at the destruction and shock, this is when suddenly they will then hear footsteps approaching, as Naruto makes sure to stand in front of both Sasuke and Sakura to protect them, as he ends up seeing none other than Orochimaru approaching. But it'll be Orochimaru under disguise. Now you see, when Orochimaru ends up seeing that, well, every last one of them dodge, he begins to compliment them, especially Naruto, since he saw how Naruto actually protected his two teammates. Now, he begins to actually compliment Naruto as he already know who he is. After all, the terror hidden in the leaves is a name that's quite well known throughout the Elemental Nations, even though it's only been there for a short amount of time. And Naruto already understanding that this guy was a big deal, since not many people here already knew about his name, so already that releases red signs to Naruto. Naruto would immediately then blitz into combat as he dashes at Orochimaru and begins to fight off against him. And you see, as Orochimaru was facing off against Naruto though, immediately Naruto was able to tell the difference in scale here, as he could tell that this guy was definitely not on the Genin level. Heck, he was not even in the Chuunin level, as this man was literally able to outmaneuver Naruto and give him a beating that no member of Team 7 were able to see. Like literally, this was something that even facing off against Kakashi, Naruto would not get beaten up like this. Yet this man was somehow able to do it. As Naruto would be suddenly kicked and sent flying into a tree, this was suddenly both Sasuke and Sakura would then suddenly snap out of it, as Orochimaru would then turn his attention onto Sasuke. He begins to actually go after the young Uchiha, as Sasuke, seeing this man approaching, begins to actually shoot off a bunch of attacks at him, telling him to get away. But unfortunately for Sasuke, Orochimaru was not going to give up, as he continues beginning to play around with the rest of Team 7. Or at least that's what he was planning to do so, until finally Naruto was able to suddenly break out of the tree, as he rushes at Orochimaru with the kunai, trying to stab into him. Now Orochimaru, seeing the attack coming, would dodge out of the way, he tells Naruto that was not a very nice thing to do. But Naruto says nothing more, as he decides to place Orochimaru under a genjutsu. And this actually ends up causing the snake Sannin to actually sweat, as he begins to feel himself get attacked by a ginormous wave of fear that causes him to be shaken up. And seeing him shaken up like this, Naruto sees an opportunity to go for the kill, to which he does so immediately, as he stabs the kunai into Orochimaru's neck and seemingly kills him off right then and there. But unfortunately for Naruto, it does not work out like that, as Orochimaru then uses a body substitution to get out of that lesser fate of death, as Orochimaru begins to compliment Naruto for having him use his technique so early on into the fight. But this made Orochimaru already realize that Naruto was one to take seriously here, as he immediately begins to go on the offensive against Naruto, all the while Naruto would then tell both Sasuke and Sakura to run, as he realized who exactly he's facing off against here. The body substitution, the way he maneuvers around like a snake, all of this ends up building up into Naruto's info of someone that he read about many years ago, this being Orochimaru, the Snake Sannin. And already understanding who he's dealing with, Naruto then tells him to run away while he takes care of him. But unfortunately for Naruto, he already knew that he was standing no chance against the Snake Sannin, especially at his level. As we see the fight between Naruto and Orochimaru commence, we will see Naruto trying his best to beat the Snake Sannin, but unfortunately nothing was working, as no matter what Naruto threw at the Snake Sannin, the man would just simply be able to dodge out of the way of it, or if it was a genjutsu, Orochimaru was just simply able to kind of endure it, you could say. Although this would cause some damage to Orochimaru mentally, he still was nonetheless able to kind of break out of it, allowing him to continue fighting off against Naruto. As this will continue on for quite a while now, this is when finally Naruto had enough, as he tries one last attempt to do a genjutsu, only for Naruto to be caught off guard as he would then be stabbed. Naruto will be caught off guard by this as Orochimaru begins to chuckle. As Naruto would then slowly turn around, only to see none other than a snake that had snuck up behind him, with the snake opening its mouth to reveal a sword that was stabbed into Naruto right now. Naruto would see this and surprised, as Orochimaru begins to comment how Naruto was definitely living up to his moniker as the terror hidden in the leaves, but unfortunately, just like every single story, there was always an ending that was pre-prepared. As Naruto would be there looking at the sword for one last second, he would then collapse down to the ground to be seemingly dead as Orochimaru would then walk away, approaching Sasuke and Sakura. As both of them were, although quite a few distance away, they still saw the sight that just happened, as they couldn't believe that Naruto, the guy who seemed almost as if he was invincible, had finally been taken down so easily by Orochimaru. As they would feel true fear as they see Orochimaru approaching them with a generous amount of bloodlust, as he felt himself being a little bit disappointed in the Uchiha prodigy. But you see, just as Orochimaru is approaching, this is when suddenly, it will then finally all come to an end. As suddenly we will then see a generous amount of terror begins to spread around the entire forest, as Orochimaru and everyone else would then feel themselves stop in place as they would then hold in their breath. As we will then see Naruto taking in the eerie red energies of Kurama, also known as the Nine-Tailed Fox. As we see Naruto suddenly stand up, eyes gleaming red as he looks like a true demon, with Naruto showing off his fangs, and not only that but also having a reddish energy just shoot off of him. As by now, Naruto's ability of the fear was going on a completely different level. Anything that Naruto has ever released before doesn't compare to how it is right now. As no one could move, no one could blink, no one could breathe. As Naruto was standing right there, as he seemed as if he was literally the Shikigami, literally waiting to take their souls right then and there. As Naruto's literal power was skyrocketing to levels that were unknown to really anyone around, as all around the forest of death, people will be stopping, people will be panting right then and there, as they feel as if they're literally about to die. As Sasuke and Sakura, being one of the people closest to it, would immediately fall into unconsciousness, with Naruto's power being so powerful at this point, to the point where Sasuke would get so many visions of what happened that night, to the point where he literally unlocks his 3 Tomoe Sharingan at that moment, before collapsing into unconsciousness. With the only one that was feeling more terror than the both of them being the one who was standing the closest to Naruto, this being Orochimaru. As the snake signing would be way paler than he's ever been in his entire life. He would be standing there as he sees multiple visions of his death, more than he ever imagined, as he looks at Naruto as if he literally was death itself. He couldn't believe it, as he feels himself breathing in and out, and he tries to reassure himself, trying to state that he will not die, that there was no way that he could die, but unfortunately, he felt as if he was lying to himself, as he himself fully believed that this was going to be it, this was the end of the line. As just as Orochimaru was in the thought process of this is when Naruto would suddenly disappear and appear right in front of Orochimaru, as now Orochimaru was meeting Naruto's gaze. As just as Orochimaru was staring into Naruto's eyes, he would then feel it. Fear itself was grabbing onto Orochimaru's heart, as Orochimaru's heart was beating uncontrollably at this point. He couldn't do nothing. As Orochimaru continues staring at Naruto, he will literally feel himself growing paler and paler. He feels himself going numb, as this is when suddenly he would then feel his fear finally reached the breaking point. He could no longer hold it in. As Naruto would then suddenly rush at Orochimaru, rushing to stab him into the chest. Unfortunately, Naruto did not need to do anything at all. As at that very moment, as Naruto was rushing at Orochimaru would die of shock. Literally, his heart couldn't handle it anymore. His heart would literally stop, and not only that, but the fear was so strong to the point where it not only affected Orochimaru's heart and body, but also his very soul. As literally Orochimaru's soul was literally completely obliterated just by sheer fear alone, as he would literally just simply die. And you see, this would mark a very special occasion, as all around people that had the curse mark or anything to bring back Orochimaru would actually end up sensing the curse mark be broken apart. As you see, Orochimaru's influence over it, or the part of his soul that was left in there, will be also completely obliterated at that very minute. As Orochimaru's body would then collapse down to the ground, as he would just be there completely in shock, and not only that, but with his eyes rolled back into his head. As Naruto would be there looking at the dead form of Orochimaru with disgust, before finally he's able to calm himself down, as he finally releases the Nine-Tailed Chakra, before finally passing out. As this is where we now do a time skip. Moving forward with the story, we see Team 7 finally regain consciousness, as at first there will be a few complications, as both Sasuke and Sakura fear Naruto, like by a lot. but eventually they're able to settle down their fears. They realize that the exam is still going on, so they have to continue on. Not only that, but they still have the scroll that they needed to pass, so they end up immediately just rushing towards the tower. With the only thing here being the fact that Naruto actually ends up bringing Orochimaru's corpse, as after all, it's gonna have to be shown. They're gonna have to show this to the Hokage. After all, there was no way they can just simply leave it here. So with that, they end up eventually reaching the tower. They actually end up passing the second portion of the Chuunin exams, and not only that, but Naruto ended up delivering the dead body of Orochimaru to Hiruzen. To which Hiruzen, seeing the body of his student, would be so surprised. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that Naruto had the ability to actually kill him. But yet, he should have expected this. As after all, Naruto had potential to be the Hidden Leaf's greatest asset, or worst, their greatest nightmare. As with them now having Orochimaru's dead body here and having to study it and pretty much find out everything that he did, Naruto was able to return back to his team and just continue on with the exams. Which I'm just going to skim over the preliminaries since not much really happens there. They're able to get past it quite easily as every member of Team 7 ended up passing their fights. As with that, the 1-month training would then be announced as well. Now you see, during the time of the 1-month training, every last member of Team 7 would go their separate ways. As Sasuke goes off to train with Kakashi, and Sakura actually goes to Kurenai. She originally actually tried to ask Naruto to train with her, but unfortunately, she decided not to do so since she already knows that Naruto is also going to be competing. So with that, Sakura decides to go somewhere else in order to get some training. But for Naruto, things are going to go different for him. As instead of going to train with Jiraiya as he does in the main timeline, instead in this timeline, Naruto is actually given a new responsibility. Because you see, after going through the body of Orochimaru and also confirming that he was actually dead, Hiruzen actually stumbled upon something that he couldn't believe that he was ever going to see again. This being the snake summoning contract. Then you see, with Orochimaru now dead and with the snake signing pretty much being no more, they're going to need someone else to actually inherit this. And although there have been many contenders, for example Anko, who used to be a student of Orochimaru, or better yet, heck, even Kakashi, but the thing is Kakashi already has his own summoning thing. So yeah, there was quite a few people, but not many also, until Hiruzen actually decided to take a gamble here. He knows that Jiraiya is going to be upset with him, but still, he decides to actually ask Naruto if he would like to be the new 6th Sannin. Now this would immediately catch people off guard, as there will be protests here and there by many people, especially those that really don't trust Naruto, as even though Naruto's been a shinobi for quite a while now, there still have been some distrust of him. But still, nonetheless, Naruto would accept this, as with this, Naruto would actually have to work for the title of Snake Sannin here. Not only that, but he would also be deemed responsible for the snake summoning contract, to which Naruto would do so, nodding his head and also accepting this task. As with this, we will see Naruto now working hard to become the next Snake Sannin, while also trying to actually master just the snake summoning contract. And eventually this will actually end up being heard from by Jiraiya, as when he found out that his grandson was actually going to be taking the snake summoning contract and not the toad one, he was furious with Hiruzen. Like he was literally about to beat the crap out of the old man. But luckily, Jiraiya was able to calm himself down, but he needed some distance away from Hiruzen and also from Naruto. And also he needed some time to be by himself, since he also had to take in the fact that his old teammate and also old friend was dead. As thanks to that, Naruto would just be stuck during the 1-month training, just training by himself and also training with the snake summoning contract, as he eventually was actually able to pull the same thing that Jiraiya did. This being the fact that he was able to actually summon himself to the land of the snakes, where he begins to meet every last one of them and also actually begins to communicate with them. Now, although many of the snakes were very arrogant, especially Manda, this being the one that Orochimaru had, unfortunately for Manda, Naruto's ability of the fear also worked against him. As you see, Naruto was able to use his ability to actually beat him and also submit to Naruto as well. As this will cause Naruto to now be able to successfully summon out Manda whenever he needs it. And that was not the only thing though, as during the time of that training, Naruto also practiced and tried to refine his taijutsu, as Naruto was now learning the snake taijutsu from, well, the snakes themselves, as he was kind of pretty much inheriting the fighting styles of Orochimaru, but putting them to better use than Orochimaru did. And not only that, but also doing them way better than Orochimaru could ever do. Now, although Naruto is not able to pretty much like make his body move like Orochimaru does, pretty much slithering around, Naruto is able to use a better version that's suited for him, and actually making it way better than Orochimaru's is. As we now eventually end up turning to the very day of the Chuunin exams, we see Naruto standing there being confident, and not only that, but also being surrounded by the rest of the people that also participated in the main timeline, besides Sakura. As we see the Chuunin exams go underway, we eventually see Naruto facing off against Neji being in the very first round. Now Neji will be quite arrogant, as he begins to pretty much list off about the fact that Naruto stands no chance against him because it's fate nonetheless, and begins to go off on a bunch of bull. But the thing is, Naruto sees Neji as not a real threat, and this kind of irks off Neji by a lot, as he actually tries to intimidate Naruto by activating Byakugan, saying that he already knows about Naruto's Genjutsu ability. But you see, the thing is, that doesn't really work out against Naruto. Now, had Naruto not gotten the necessary taijutsu training, now he may have struggled against Neji, even if it was only a little bit. But now Naruto had gotten the taijutsu training that he needed, and not only that, but he also got just way smarter when it comes to his genjutsus. As Naruto was able to catch the very proud Hyuga member off guard, and was actually able to knock him out easily and quite fast actually, surprising everyone, as they couldn't believe just how strong the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki had become. As after this, the rest of the matches will end up playing out pretty similarly as well, as those that won their matches in the main timeline will win their matches again. All the way to the point where we see Sasuke facing off against Gaara. And you see, in the main timeline, this fight was interrupted because of the Konoha Crush. But you see, the thing is with Orochimaru now being killed off, and not only that, but with pretty much the Shinobi of the Sand being let known about the fact their Kazekage was killed off, this actually caused them to not go with the plan, and instead just simply be there to finish off the Chuunin exam before heading back, as they need to immediately find themselves a new Kazekage. As this is where we then see the fight between Gaara and Sasuke, and although Sasuke does put up a pretty good fight here, and not only that, but also because of the fact he has the 3 Tomori Sharingan, he actually is able to put up a pretty good fight against Gaara. But unfortunately, Gaara tries to activate his Biju powers, so enough to the point where he literally tries to awaken the Shikaku in the midst of the match. And this ends up turning out to be a very bad thing for Gaara, as this was breaking the rules of the Chuunin exam since there was no lethal force involved in here. As after all, you're not allowed to kill during this part of the Chuunin exams. So thanks to that, unfortunately for Gaara, he immediately was disqualified, and not only that, but Hiruzen also intervened, as he knocks out Gaara before he can go too far and immediately try to attack everyone. As now that Gaara was taken care of, this would actually cause the rest of the Chuunin exams to play out, as Sasuke would actually be the one to head off to the final matches, with him facing off against Naruto. As we now change scenes, we see both Naruto and Sasuke as they both be staring down at each other, with the crowd going crazy right now as they were really excited to see who was going to win the fight. Was it going to be Sasuke, the Uchiha prodigy, or was it going to be Naruto, literally the terror hitting the leaves? As everyone was looking on with anticipation, this is when finally the fight would then be yelled out to begin, as we see Sasuke then rush at Naruto, showing off his impressive speed. And although Sasuke's speed was impressive, Naruto definitely had enough speed to keep up with him. In fact, Naruto was faster, as he was able to show Sasuke that he was able to keep up with him and tell Sasuke not to hold back. To which Sasuke, seeing the fact that Naruto was still as strong as ever, would actually smirk in anticipation. He immediately rushes at Naruto, throwing out multiple different jutsus, as Naruto will be dodging out of the way of every single one of them, showing how that training that he got from the snakes were really working out for him here. And as Sasuke was about to blow away a generous fireball jutsu at Naruto, this is when he would then be captured inside a Genjutsu. As you see, Sasuke would end up actually shooting off the fireball at Naruto, and it seems to have hit him, as you see Naruto's very charred corpse. As Sasuke ends up looking up at the scene in true horror, as he couldn't believe what he just saw right now, this is when suddenly he would then see the undead body of Naruto, then suddenly end up rushing at him, making Sasuke actually jump back in fear. As the dead corpse of Naruto will be rushing at him, Sasuke ends up finally realizing that it's a Genjutsu, as he kept trying to break out of it. And as he does, he sees the corpse getting closer and closer before finally he's able to break out of it, surprising himself as he couldn't believe just how close that really was. As Sasuke begins to sweat a little bit and breathe a sigh of relief, this is when suddenly he would then be kicked in the face by none other than Naruto, which caused him to be sent flying into a wall. Now Sasuke ends up getting pretty damaged by this, but he immediately ends up getting up as he rushes at Naruto, getting into a taijutsu battle. Both of them end up landing blows on each other, as Sasuke was showing off all his improvements, while Naruto was actually very impressed by the fact of how Sasuke got this strong in such a short amount of time. But unfortunately for Sasuke, it seems as if it was finally time for the fight to come to an end. As both of them would end up separating from each other for one last time, we will see Sasuke instantly blitz into the hand signs of the Chidori, as it was finally time for him to end it. While Naruto seeing this begins to build up a large amount of chakra, as we see Sasuke then rush over at Naruto at an amazing amount of speed. And Naruto seeing this would immediately unleash the Genjutsu, as Sasuke ends up rushing at Naruto and seemingly hits him. As we see Sasuke, we see like a generous amount of light as a generous amount of smoke ends up spreading throughout the entire arena. Now, smoke begins to finally set in as people begin to look around in anticipation, wondering what happened, as they thought that Sasuke had collided with Naruto and actually dealt the blow. But you see, when the smoke ends up dissipating, we will see Naruto standing right there as he will be holding on to his bleeding sides with a troubled expression, as the attack was able to graze him pretty badly, but not as bad as Sasuke. As we turn our attention to the young Uchiha, who will be currently right now foaming at the mouth. As you see, Sasuke had immediately, during the attack when Sasuke had rushed at Naruto with the Chidori, Naruto had put a Genjutsu on him that caught Sasuke off guard. It was a very horrifying one that caused Sasuke's fear to take control, as he immediately actually forces his body to pretty much avoid Naruto. As this only caused the lightning sparks to graze Naruto pretty badly, and caused Naruto to get a pretty, not a very deep cut, but a cut nonetheless. But you see, thanks to the fact that the Chidori takes away a generous amount of speed, and not only that, because of the fact that Sasuke avoided Naruto, this caused Sasuke to go direct course into a wall, causing him to slam very hard and headfirst right into it. And not only that, but also causing the wall to take a generous amount of destruction as well. As by the time we end up seeing Sasuke right now, his arm was bending in a very awkward way, and not only that, but he was pretty badly damaged after getting slammed headfirst into the wall by his own attack. As everyone ends up looking at the scene, this is when suddenly the announcer would then announce Naruto as the winner of the Chuunin exam, causing everyone to then suddenly cheer for Naruto, as Naruto ends up looking up into the sky with a smile on his face, as that will signify that he finally had done it. He had finally become a jonin. As we now change scenes. Moving on past the Chuunin exams, we will see many people recovering from the injuries, and not only that, but we will see the Sand Village going about their separate ways. With the Kazekage being revealed dead, they will have their own troubles to face off against because of the fact they're going to need a new Kazekage. And with Hiruzen actually doing them a favor and actually fixing up Gaara's seal, this actually caused them to actually think of him being the new leader. It's just that he needs way more control and way more training, to which they definitely decides to make an effort on that. But you know, that's the Sand Village's problem, not the Hidden Leafs. As turning our attention to the Hidden Leafs, things are going pretty good for them. As without the Konoha Crush happening, no real damages happened to the Hidden Leaf Village, so that means things are able to proceed much smoothly. Not only that, but eventually we're able to finally hear the results of the Chuunin exam much sooner since Hiruzen didn't die. As thanks to the fact that the Chuunin exam is now passing by, those who end up becoming Chuunin will be none other than Shikamaru, Sasuke Uchiha, and not only that, but also surprisingly Sakura Haruno. As Sakura had demonstrated that even though she wasn't like the strongest out there, she definitely could held her own, and not only that, but she also knew when to surrender, as not all the time was it just they never give up battle. As her and Shikamaru both revealed the intelligence of a Chuunin, and not only that, but both of them had the experience as well. Not only that, but Sasuke definitely deserved his promotion as well, as he definitely showed he had the power of a Chuunin, if not heck maybe a jonin as well, and not only that, but he had the intelligence needed to be a Chuunin. As for Naruto, well, it's obvious. After showing off all those skills, Naruto was becoming a jonin. As thanks to him showing off the skills, it proved them all nonetheless that he definitely deserved that promotion, as Naruto will be given the jonin vest that he so desperately desired. As now that Naruto has the jonin ranking, we can now continue on with the story. Now you see, by this point, Naruto is actually just fully enjoying his life now, but by this point, Naruto is now much more open to communication, and not only that, but to try out new things. As although originally Naruto was not happy to be set on a team with Team 7, originally over time he begins to get used to it and honestly enjoy himself as he was on that team. As although he was not like a chatterbug as he was like in the main timeline, Naruto got used to communicating with them, and honestly, he had gotten a connection with them. So due to that, Naruto was much more open to the idea of trying out new things. So when Hiruzen actually ended up coming to Naruto and giving him the idea of actually leading a team, Naruto, although quite hesitant, actually decides to accept it. As with that, and after hearing that, Hiruzen was very much happy about it, as he begins to assign Naruto his new team. With Naruto getting assigned to lead the team of Konohamaru, Udon, and not only that, Moji? I'm sorry if I said her name wrong, but basically, it's Konohamaru and his friends. As unlike in the main timeline where Konohamaru and his friends were being led by Ibisu, In this timeline, Naruto will be the one leading Konohamaru's team. And immediately after Naruto was given this responsibility, he immediately took it up with great stride. Now, although at first Konohamaru was quite childish about the whole thing, since he didn't really have any respect for Naruto at all, since he at this point was still being kind of a brat because of the fact that no one truly acknowledged him. But you see, over time, Naruto was actually able to gain Konohamaru's trust, as Konohamaru actually saw that Naruto knew his name, and every single time he would speak to Konohamaru, he would say his name. He doesn't say like Sarutobi or anything like that. He says Konohamaru's name, as he knows Konohamaru for simply being Konohamaru. So thanks to that, Konohamaru develops a trust for Naruto and even calls him Big Brother. And pretty much Udon and also the other one also follow along as well, as they both end up calling Naruto the same thing, as Naruto was fitting into the role of being jonin quite well. And you see, whenever Naruto was not leading his team, he would also go on missions with his old team, this being Team 7, as he still had his own connections with them as well. As thanks to that, Naruto would go on missions with them quite frequently, allowing him to get even stronger. As with that, we can now continue on with the story even further, doing a time skip. As we now turn to a total of 5 years later, we actually end up seeing Konoha once again, as currently right now it was thriving. As by this point in the story, Konoha has been increasing in power. Because in this timeline, Sasuke does not go off with Orochimaru, because Orochimaru is already dead, and not only that, but he has genuine trust in Konoha now, mostly considering the fact that, well, ever since being teamed up with Naruto, and this Naruto actually taking his Shinobi career seriously, and not only that, but not having like too much of a rivalry with Sasuke, this allows Sasuke to open up to more connections, and not only that, but grow stronger at a much more consistent rate. So due to this, Sasuke has much more trust in Konoha and decides to stay there. And that's not the only thing though, is the fact that now that Sasuke is here, that means that we don't have to have an entire arc just focused on him. So that means the Sasuke retrieval mission does not happen. And if you're wondering about the Tsunade retrieval arc as well, unfortunately, since Naruto did not go with Jiraiya because he's a jonin now, and all like that, but he has his own responsibilities, that means Jiraiya had to go by himself. And unfortunately, he couldn't convince Tsunade to come back to the Hidden Leaf Village, and with Hiruzen becoming way too old to continue leading, and not wanting the risk of Danzo turning up and ruining everything, that means Jiraiya has to become Hokage in this timeline. Which, although he really isn't happy about the whole thing, he decides to take it on with great stride nonetheless. So yeah, things were going pretty well for the Hidden Leaf Village. As we now turn to the very main part of the story, this being the Shippuden arc in the very first one, this being the fact that Gaara gets attacked. As yes, in this timeline Gaara becomes a Kazekage, but the only difference here is the fact that he's much more emotionless during this time of the story. This being the fact that Naruto didn't have that battle against him, so that means that Gaara has no type of instance where he begins to have a soft spot for everyone. So basically, Gaara is being pretty much an emotionless dictator. But during the time when facing off against Deidara and Sasori, he would try his best to face off against them, but unfortunately, even then, he's still not able to keep up. So we will see Gaara actually get defeated and captured by the Akatsuki. And when Jiraiya was actually notified about this, instead of actually frowning or being upset, he actually ends up smirking since he knows the right man for the job, as that's when he decides to send out the Hidden Leaf's secret weapon. As this is where we now change scenes. Now we see Deidara and Sasori as they're currently right now moving through the desert, as right now they're trying to head to the very location that they decide to meet. But as they were heading out there though, unaware to them was the fact that someone was on their tails, moving at incredible speeds to the point where you would think that he would be teleporting. And this person will be none other than Naruto Uzumaki. Now Naruto throughout the many years has grown exceptionally powerful. The terror hidden in the leaves was a very rare name. It was as famous as that of the copy ninja. And the main reason for this one is because of the fact that Naruto had accomplished so many missions and accomplished so many feats, and he did all this in those 5 years alone. And to make it even better for Naruto is the fact that Naruto throughout this time had a major power up. His ability of the fear had reached a whole new level. His genjutsu are literally reality warping. Like, he's literally seemed to be able to do everything. There has not been one person in recorded history to actually even make him run away now. Maybe if he was a Chuunin, or maybe if he was a lot younger, there have been some records, but now Naruto was almost invincible, or that's what it seemed to everyone else. As no matter what enemy Naruto faced, he had been able to come out on top, especially against those of the Akatsuki. That's right. During the time when Jiraiya was actually turned into the Hokage, against his better judgment, he did decide to notify Naruto about his heritage, and not only that, but also notify Naruto about the Akatsuki. And while Naruto was of course surprised about his heritage, he decided to keep moving forward, and he decided not to really rely too much on the heritage. After all, he never needed it back then, and he never needed it now. So things is that Naruto was able to continue on pushing, and after finding out about the Akatsuki, well, Naruto made it a personal mission to take them down. But you see, in order to do that, Naruto needed to get a lot stronger, to which he did. After going through many years of training and not only that, but getting a generous power buff, Naruto had been hunting down members of the Akatsuki, as whenever he would encounter them, he would go in with the intention to kill. As things is that, the Akatsuki's numbers have been cut down drastically, as every single time Naruto would appear or approach them, it would just be a sign of death. As for Naruto, or better yet, how strong Naruto had gotten throughout the many years, well, Naruto had gotten a power boost mostly because of the fact that number one, he had mastered Senjutsu. That's right, the very thing that Orochimaru could never do, he actually mastered it with the snakes. Now if you guys want a reference to what exactly the snake Senjutsu is, I mean, just pull up Mizuki, as now Naruto has that. As not only does Senjutsu give Naruto a very powerful physical increase, but it also allows his Genjutsu to be used at a very higher level than he ever did before, causing Naruto to really be a truly deadly Shinobi. Another thing that Naruto took up was the fact that he also took up sword training as well, as he decided that, well, why not? I mean, shoot, if he can't really do that well when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, he could very well use a sword, and Naruto proves to be very proficient at it, as he even took away the very sword that Orochimaru had stabbed him with, this being the Kusanagi blade. And if you're wondering about any extra information about the Nine Tails, well, him and Naruto had actually decided to come to an agreement. Now, although it did take quite a few years in order to do so, Naruto had been able to actually kind of make a deal with Kurama, as whenever there was a situation where Naruto couldn't handle it, which is quite rare these days, Naruto could actually rely on the power of the Nine Tails to actually give him an extra power boost. As Naruto realized, with the Nine Tails' power, the ability of the fear becomes almost, well heck, not even almost, it literally becomes invincible pretty much. It's a instant one-shot. As after the battle with the Orochimaru, Naruto had came to that realization. So thanks to that, whenever Naruto needs to finish off the enemy, or if there's an enemy that Naruto cannot take down, he could always rely on the Nine Tails to boost up the power of the fear, making it a one-shot. As we now turn our attention back to the present, we see Naruto now as he finally arrived at the destination where Deidara and Sasuke were. As currently right now, they're about to do the process of extracting Gaara. But unfortunately, if they thought that generous boulder with the seal was going to actually protect them, well, unfortunately it doesn't go exactly as they intended. As soon as they're about to start the ritual, this is when suddenly to their surprise, the boulder actually ends up getting cut apart. As when they end up seeing this, they're immediately shocked, as when the boulder ends up opening up, they feel true fear just stab into them immediately. They're paralyzed and they're unable to move. At this, Deidara and Sasuke end up looking around as they try to find or pinpoint where this fear was getting generated from. As at first it was at the very entrance of the cave, but now it's all over. At this, they tried to immediately stay together in order to fight off any enemies, but unfortunately for them, it was too late. As just as when Deidara was actually about to use his explosions to blow away anything that may approach them, this is when suddenly he didn't realize is that he's been poisoned. As he ends up looking down, he ends up seeing that he's been poisoned all around, as his body was not responding to him. And he was not the only one, as when he ends up turning to Sasuke, he ends up seeing the very same thing happening to him. As currently right now, Sasuke's body was currently laying down on the ground, as Deidara ended up collapsing on the ground as well. Both of them are currently right now just clinging onto life, trying their best, as Naruto begins to pretty much narrate to them exactly what he did. As they begin to feel true fear just wash over them, and they're unable to do anything. As when they're finally able to get a good look at Naruto's face, they see him staring at them with an emotionless expression, as Naruto will bring out the Kusanagi blade. Now Deidara seeing this will try one last attempt, this being using his ultimate technique, but unfortunately for Deidara, it was pointless, as he couldn't move any of his limbs. As we see Deidara cursing for one last time, he ends up cursing out at Naruto and his very existence, to which Naruto, after hearing this, shows no care at all to that comment. Instead, he just simply ends up cutting off the head of both Deidara and Sasuke, as they were unable to do anything. But you see, the thing is, Sasuke was still inside his puppet. So when Naruto ends up turning his back and preparing to leave, this is when Sasuke would then use the opportunity, as he tries one last attempt to attack Naruto while he was off guard. But you see, as the attack was approaching Naruto, unfortunately for Sasuke, it was too late. As this is when suddenly he ends up feeling himself get stabbed, as when he ends up looking around to see who did it, he ends up seeing another Naruto, as by this point Naruto already learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Now at this point Sasuke couldn't believe it, as he couldn't believe that both him and Deidara were taken care of so easily, as he can just simply wonder what exactly or what type of monster did the Hidden Leaf craft in order for Naruto Uzumaki to be born, as this is when he ends up collapsing down to the ground into unconsciousness. As this will be the end for both Deidara and Sasori, as Naruto ends up taking Gaara back to the Sand Village. And soon after Gaara is retrieved, everyone will be congratulating Naruto and thanking him for bringing him back. As when Gaara finally ends up coming back, he's actually very surprised to see that the Hidden Leaf Village decides to help. As this is when he actually decides to extend another truce between them, to which Naruto, after seeing this, accepts. As this will be where the Hidden Leaf Village as well as the Sand Village will actually alliance themselves together. As before, it was kind of on the fritz as after the whole Konoha Crush thing. Even though it didn't happen, after finding out what they intended to do, it was kind of, just kind of tense between the two. But now it seems as if they squashed the beef. But now that both Deidara and Sasori were taken care of, they already sent a message to the Akatsuki, as right now their numbers were shrinking drastically. They needed some type of way to create new members, or better yet, they need to find a faster way to collect all the tailed beasts, but unfortunately, they were running out of time. So with things coming to a desperate measure, they're gonna have to do the one thing they could possibly do at that very moment. That being the assassination of Naruto Uzumaki, as he has been a thorn in their side for quite a while now, and they just cannot allow him to intervene any further. So with that being said, and already having that intention in mind, we actually end up seeing Pain begin to announce this as he prepares to make his move. As we now flash forward, moving past the event of saving Gaara. Now for the next following months that went by after this mission, Naruto enjoys his life at the Hidden Leaf, as the Hidden Leaf continues to prosper. As so far there's been no attacks, the Hidden Leaf Village has been stronger than ever, and not only that, but things are just going completely smoothly for them. As currently right now, the only big thing that's actually coming up for the Hidden Leaf Village so far that they know of is the next year's Chuunin exam, to which Naruto's team is going to be participating, but not only Naruto's team, but also Sasuke's team and Sakura, as both of them decide to take a page from Naruto's book and actually decide to mentor a team of their own. As every single one of them has their own team, and they're really excited to see which team is going to come out on top. And to which Naruto, after getting to know every single one of them and honestly just enjoying his time communicating with people, he's much more open with his emotions as well, since he just calmly talks to them and honestly is much more expressive than he was when he was younger. Now you see, during the time when the Chuunin exam was actually going to get started, with each team getting ready though, this is when events would then suddenly change. As during the time when everyone was really excited for the festival and everything, for the Chuunin exams, Naruto had been able to catch sight of something. Thanks to the Senjutsu training, Naruto is able to sense things much quicker than anyone else, as he ends up looking up into the sky to see someone floating. Now Naruto seeing this would be very confused until suddenly he would then sense all his senses going haywire as they were all telling him to dodge, as Naruto immediately tries to run as far away as possible, but unfortunately for him, he didn't realize just how much damage the attack approaching was going to do, as we would then hear the cry of Shinra Tensei. Now immediately as soon as those words were released, a ginormous wind blast would then be shot out, destroying a large portion of the village and causing a ginormous amount of damage all around, as we hear the cries and scream of pain from people, as everyone around, including the Shinobi, were immediately tensed up. Naruto, being one of the earliest people and actually being the first person to dodge the attack, will be looking on in complete shock about what just happened. Now as Naruto is trying to recover from everything that just happened though, this is when suddenly he would then sense someone approaching as he has to dodge it out of the way of a sight, as he was just attacked by none other than Hidan. Naruto seeing this and also seeing the familiar robe of the Akatsuki immediately narrows his eyes as he activates the power of the fear. As this is when we would then see Hidan get trapped in a genjutsu. Hidan stays there unmoving as we see him begin to get paler and paler by the second, as he's unable to move, breathe, or do anything. As Naruto begins to narrate to him, telling him that if he even thinks about moving or doing anything, he will die. And Hidan fully believed it, which is crazy considering the fact that he's immortal. After all, his god is looking out for him. As Naruto was about to attack him, this is when suddenly someone else would then try to attack Naruto as well, as this would be Kakuzu. Now Naruto is getting tag teamed by these two, as Naruto activates the power of the fear to a whole new level, one of them causing them to hesitate from even attacking him. But still nonetheless, reluctantly they have to do so. It's under their orders after all. As Naruto continues facing off against Hidan and Kakuzu, this is when we then change scenes to somewhere else. As we actually end up seeing that all around, different members of the Akatsuki were wreaking havoc all around Konoha, looking for the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Except for one. As we end up seeing Itachi Uchiha as he ends up moving throughout the village, not really doing anything at all. It seems as if he was looking for someone. And just as Itachi was actually looking for someone, he eventually ends up stumbling upon him. As you see right now, currently glaring angrily at Itachi and flashing his Mangekyo Sharingan, it will be none other than Sasuke, as he'll be there glaring at Itachi angrily and cursing him out, as he immediately gets into a fighting stance, with Itachi doing the same thing. As this is when we then see the clash of both brothers happening within the village. So all around, the entire Hidden Leaf village was becoming a war zone, as members of the Akatsuki were on the offensive, attacking everyone or anything that was nearby, with Shinobi all around trying to run in and stop them, with the main threat being the, sixth path to pains. As we now turn our attention back to Naruto, he will be currently right now taking down both Kakuzu as well as Hidan, as although these two were definitely strong and had their own weird gimmicks and everything like that, Naruto was literally known as the Terror Hidden Leaves for a reason, as Naruto had been able to trap both of them in a Genjutsu. And while they're in the Genjutsu, Naruto decides to just simply go for the kill, as he usually does, trying to end them off with one blow, to which it seemingly works, or at least that's what Naruto intended it to do. But you see, as Naruto was preparing to walk away, this is when suddenly, to his surprise, both of them end up actually attacking him once again, as Naruto had been caught off guard by this. Luckily, he's able to react just in time to avoid getting any permanent injuries, but still nonetheless, it does kind of make him weirded out, as after all, these two just don't seem to die of normal means, even though Naruto has cut them up quite badly. As they begin to pretty much just explain their abilities and everything like that, Naruto once again goes on the offensive. However, just as he was about to rush at both Kakuzu and Hidan, this is when suddenly another path of pain would then appear, as it would actually end up kicking Naruto in the stomach. Naruto gets caught off guard by this, as when he finally ends up recovering from the blow that he'd just been given, this is when he finally ends up taking a good look around, only to see that he was surrounded. As all around, Naruto was surrounded by members of the Akatsuki, this being Kisame, Hidan, and Kakuzu, literally the other six paths of pain, and even the original Pain himself. Naruto will be there surrounded by every last one of them, as Pain begins to just simply narrate, telling Naruto that he's just been a thorn in their side. And Naruto just couldn't believe the audacity here. The fact they actually tried to attack his own village just so they can get at him was insane, mind-boggling. But still, at the end of the day, it was the simple truth. As Naruto ends up staring down at every last one of them, he decides to look at the very one thing that was a benefit to all this. This being the simple fact that Naruto now no longer needs to hold back. As he ends up staring at every single one of the paths of pain and the rest of the members of the Akatsuki emotionlessly, this is when suddenly we end up seeing Naruto begin to take on a bluish glow, as suddenly serpents begin to wrap around him, as this is when we then see Naruto even grow out a horn. As this is when we then see it, Snake Sage mode. At taking on this appearance, immediately the members of the Akatsuki end up tensing up, as this is when we then see Naruto's power then take an extraordinary boost, as Naruto even releases the power of the fear. And dear God, every single one of them would immediately feel themselves being held down to the ground. Literally, they're collapsing down as their entire body feels weak. They're unable to move or do anything. Even Pain himself, someone who's supposed to be emotionless and have a strong will, was currently being shaken up at this very moment. He couldn't believe it, the power that this kid holds, but still, he cannot allow him to interfere in their plans, as even though he has a tremendous amount of fear, the Diva Path still tries to attack him, using a Basho intending to drag him near. As Naruto ends up getting pulled towards Pain, this is when he tries to release a Shinra Tensei, but Naruto surprisingly ends up dodging out the way. Not even dodging, he just completely disappears. As when Pain activates the attack and it completely misses, he tries to look around for Naruto, only to have Naruto appear in front of him once again. But this time, Naruto ends up stabbing the Pain directly in the chest. Pain ends up looking on it in surprise as he tries to back away from Naruto, but Naruto is not going to let him escape, as he ends up using the snakes that were formed thanks to his chakra to wrap around Pain, preventing him from moving. And Pain, seeing this, cannot handle it as he ends up releasing a Shinra Tensei to blow them away, and also to get some distance. As Naruto ends up looking at the side, this was finally the members of the Akatsuki, getting a strong enough will at this point enough to actually stand up against him, will try their desperate attempts to attack him. But unfortunately, as they continue trying to attack him, Naruto would increase the fear even more, causing him to break down and even collapse down to one knee, literally hyperventilating. But still, regardless, they kept trying to do so. As this will go on for quite a while now, as Naruto would face off against every member of the Akatsuki, as he ends up beating down on every single one of them, eventually it was finally time for them to do their ultimate attack. As using the very small opportunity that they have, they end up unleashing a barrage of attacks that end up attacking Naruto all around. as the animal path will even summon out the animals, which at this point show no fear at all, as they actually rush at Naruto and attack him. And while Naruto is preoccupied, this will actually give the Diva Path the opportunity, as he ends up releasing the Chibaku Tensei. As suddenly the black hole will be thrown into the sky, we will see Naruto actually being one of the things to be absorbed into it, as him as well as his entire Senjutsu snake mode transformation being sucked up in there, as a generous amount of the debris of the Hidden Leaf Village gets absorbed into a ginormous meteor. As now, finally seeing the opportunity to end him, this is when we then see Pain end up shouting as he prepares to slam the meteor into the Hidden Leaf Village, or what's left of it. But just as Pain was about to do so though, this is when suddenly the meteor would then suddenly end up beginning to erupt and begin to crumble and be destroyed from the inside. Pain, as well as many others that were looking on, would actually look on in surprise, as they end up seeing the meteor end up being completely obliterated, as they end up seeing Naruto taking on a very horrific transformation. As Naruto would be looking something straight out of a horror movie, with his insides popping out, showing a very grotesque and very dark theme that was hidden within him. And not only that, but Naruto was also taking on the very ears of the Nine Tails as well. Pretty much, it looks like a very evil or horrific version of the Nine Tails Baryon mode. Naruto is currently right now doing this mode after taking some of the chakra from the Nine Tails, as right now all around the Hidden Leaf Village, many people were collapsing down, falling to unconsciousness thanks to fear, with the only people that were still awake at that very moment being the Akatsuki and few others that were currently not even looking at Naruto, too afraid to even look at him. As the members of the Akatsuki will be staring down at Naruto in pure horror as they were seeing multiple visions of their death in the most grotesque way possible. This is when Naruto would then look at them, as this is when he then decides to activate his ultimate technique. This being a genjutsu which Naruto had dubbed Endless Purgatory. At this, we would then see each member of the Akatsuki being absorbed into it, as Pain tries to deny it. He tries to activate the Renegon to break out of it, and even tries to inflict himself with pain, but unfortunately it didn't work, as Naruto genjutsu has skyrocketed now that he had taken on some of the power of the Nine Tails. As just like that, they'll be thrown into this void, as all around their lungs begin to inflame, as they feel as if the very air itself was burning them, and they'll feel pain all around their body as they're unable to do anything about it. As this continues to go on for multiple years, as they are unable to break out of it. They think it goes on for a couple of days and weeks and years to multiple centuries from now, as they're just stuck in this genjutsu for all of eternity. As when we finally turn back to reality, we actually end up seeing every member of the Akatsuki as they were currently pale beyond belief. Their heart fully stopped, their brain shut down, as they were all dead. And the thing is, they were not the only ones, as even Nagato himself, who currently right now was actually being able to see everything that the Pain saw, and not only that but also experience everything that they felt, he saw everything too, and he himself also died. As you see Naruto laying down on the ground and finally walking towards them, this is when he decides to actually hunt down the very last leader, this being, well, Nagato. But you see, when he ends up rushing to the location to find him, unfortunately by now, Nagato had already passed away, with the only person being left behind being Konan. Then you see, Konan tries to do her fight against Naruto, trying to attack him, but unfortunately after facing off against him, Naruto can already tell that she's only fighting out of desperation, as she truly has nothing left to live for. As after seeing that it was all pointless and there was really nothing else to do, Konan just simply asked Naruto to fulfill the one request that Nagato had, to which Naruto simply says that he's not going to do it. After all, why should it be up to him to go ahead and bring peace to the world? That made absolutely no sense. After all, it should be something that all people all around should do, not just one person. And after actually hearing this philosophy from Naruto, and also hearing his answer, Konan just says nothing more, as she decides just to simply leave, deciding to just bury Nagato and just move on, being unable to do anything. Now while Konan's fate is very undecided, there's one person's fate that should be let known of, this being Obito. Now at this point, Obito has been trying his best to make sure everything goes along with his plan. But unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, there was nothing he could do. As everything he did, Naruto just simply ruined it all. And when he thought that finally they would be able to catch him off guard, unfortunately he just saw every single one of them just simply die. And not only that, but he also was one of the few that felt that fear. Even when he was inside the Kamui dimension, he still felt it. Just by simply looking at Naruto, he felt it into his soul. As Obito ends up looking around, actually seeing the fight between Konan and Naruto, which honestly was not even a fight at all, he decides that he only has one opportunity, one chance to end him, and that was it. So when finally, after Konan had decided to leave, and after leaving Naruto by himself, Obito saw fit at this very opportunity to attack him. As just as Naruto was about to actually go back to the Enemy village, Obito would then suddenly end up rushing at him as he tries to use the chains to wrap around Naruto and tried to stab him. But as he was about to do this though, this is when suddenly Naruto ends up turning to him in the very last second. And unfortunately, Obito had looked Naruto directly in the eyes. And that was wraps. As soon as Obito ended up looking at Naruto in the eyes, immediately he begins to feel fear overwhelm him. All around, his entire body begins to lock up as he feels himself being completely sucked into this void. As he ends up being inside this void, he begins to feel a hand grab onto his neck. As when he ends up finally looking at the person that was holding onto his neck, he will see literally the face of the Shikigami itself. Obito sees this as he tries to fight back, saying that he has no fear at all, as after all, he has no heart. But at the end of the day, Naruto, or better yet the Shikigami, begins to actually question him at all, trying to ask him how he even knows anything of himself when he literally doesn't even know the feeling of love or even happiness itself. As Obito tries to once again argue or tries to fight back against the reality of the situation, unfortunately it was too late. As instantly the Shikigami would put both of its hands on Obito's neck and simply squeeze. As at that very moment we will then see the end of Obito Uchiha, as he's unable to do anything as Naruto just simply ends him, finishing him off immediately, while also unknowingly taking down the very last member of the Akatsuki, or at least the only member that was truly a threat. As now with Obito finally being killed off, we can now finally move on forward with the story. As when we end up changing scenes to the future, we end up seeing a few things actually happening. Number one being the fact that the progress of rebuilding Konoha are underway, as many people all around that survived the attack of the Akatsuki was currently helping and trying to bring back the village and rebuild it to how it was before. And during the time when this was going on, we also saw the arrest as well as the execution of Danzo. With the main reason behind this being the fact that Danzo, during the time when the village was actually trying to rebuild itself, he tried to push Jiraiya out of office. Mostly because of the fact he tried to make everyone see that Jiraiya was unfit to rule this village. But unfortunately for Danzo, Jiraiya had already knew about all the dark information and everything that he did behind the Hokage's back. So on Jiraiya's orders, he decided to actually take down Danzo and actually hold him up for execution. To which ironically enough, the person to execute Danzo will be none other than Sasuke Uchiha. As after all, Jiraiya decided to let Sasuke know about the events of the Uchiha massacre and the main man behind it. So this way, now Sasuke actually gets the opportunity to revenge his clan, and not only that, but he doesn't hold a grudge against the Hidden Leaf village, since after all, Jiraiya was the one who told him that Danzo was the one who did it, and not Obito. But other than that, we actually end up seeing things back in Konoha go down quite smoothly and quite nicely, as finally after rebuilding themselves and getting everything together, they were to continue on with the story as Konoha continues growing in power. And sooner or later over time, although it does take quite a while, they do establish some type of peace among them. As although they're not like, all buddy, they're not completely 100% hostile. As this was mostly because of the fact that the Stone Village's Hokage actually stepped down, allowing for a new one to step in. As now with that being said and done, we can now change to the final scenes of this What If. As we end up turning to Naruto for one last time, as by this point, Naruto has taken up a new role. And not only that, but he's probably the most highly feared shinobi in the entire world. Yes, even surpassing that of all the Kages. This being the fact that now Naruto fills in the role of being Anbu captain. As Naruto had changed from being a simple kid that didn't know how to control his ability, to being a Chuunin with a lot of experience but not enough to become a jonin, to eventually becoming a jonin sensei, and now a full-on Anbu captain. As Naruto had gone through a majority of the story just continuously increasing and building up character. As now with that being said, this will be the end to What If Naruto had Asanat's abilities. Thank y'all so much for tuning into this What If. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. I'm sorry it took me so long to release this What If, and I'm sorry I've been on break for quite a while now, but I am back guys, and I'll be trying my best to go back to my regular recording schedule. Although do note my What Ifs are going to be a little bit different and until I eventually end up going back to my old storytelling ways, mostly because of the fact that your boy is a little bit rusty. I mean after all 1 month can do that to you. And another thing is my voice might sound a little bit different, and that's because of the fact that your boy got sick, but don't worry, I'm making a steadily recovery, okay? So I'm going to be back to normal ASAP. But still, besides that guys, it's your host Seiji Samurai here, and he's signing off. Peace, and have a lovely day.